What's going on, all my fantasy football fans? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. If you're new to the channel, I'm Waiver Wire Queen. In this episode, we are going to talk about our top waiver wire ads going into week 6 of the fantasy football season. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of great content, which is going to help you prepare and compete at the highest level every week against your competition. There are 4 teams on a bye week. This week we have the Lions, the Texans, the Raiders, and the Titans. So some key players to keep in mind. You have Jared Goff, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Davis Mills. Those are the quarterbacks. If you have any of those guys in your starting lineups, we'll talk about some quarterbacks today that may be able to help you. Also at the running back position, Jamal Williams. You have Damian Pierce. That's a 2 huge running backs. And then obviously Derrick Henry, who has been producing some very good numbers over the last few weeks, and Josh Jacobs. And at the wide receiver position, there are several really good wide receivers who are going to be out. Obviously, Devontae Adams. You got Hunter Renfrow. Also at the tight end position, you have Darren Waller. We have Brandon Cooks. We also have St. Brown. And then TJ Hawkinson. So some very good players are going to be out. So we're going to talk about some great players you should consider adding going into week 6. Let's kick this thing off with our quarterbacks. Geno Smith has played extremely well so far this year. He has probably surprised everyone this year, especially that Seattle offense. I don't think anyone predicted that they would be able to move the ball as well as they have. They've been competitive and they've been in every game. This week versus the Cardinal is probably not the greatest matchup, but he played very well versus the Saints. So I'm going to say start him if you can, especially if you have some of those quarterbacks we talked about. We're going to be on a bye week this week. Geno Smith is a very good option at the quarterback position. He has played well. He hasn't turned the ball over a lot, and he is getting his players involved. He's getting Metcalf and Lockett involved. They have a great rapport. So if you can add him, add him. Another great quarterback to add this week is Jimmy G with the 49ers. He had a very good week 5. 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. The one thing about Jimmy G is he's not going to turn the ball over a whole lot. And the 49ers offense is clicking on all cylinders. I mean, they're getting Kittle involved, Debo, Ayuk, and then you have the running backs, Wilson, involved. And they also surprised us and had Coleman out there. So Jimmy, again, has been playing great over the last few weeks. And then you also got to realize there are quarterbacks who are rostered that haven't played well, and they're on your roster. You have Geno Smith and Jimmy G, who are playing well, sitting on your bench. Justin Fields should be on waivers. Carson Wentz has played very bad since, week 2? Marcus Mariota, please do not have him on your roster. Matt Ryan is another one. Get rid of him and add one of these 2 guys. Baker Mayfield, get rid of him and add one of these 2 guys. And plus, he's dealing with an ankle injury as well. Matthew Stafford, I would say hold on to him, but is it going to get better? Because he is playing some terrible football. And then also, Russell Wilson is playing bad, but he did have a good week 4. So I would say with Wilson and Matthew Stafford, those are the guys you still hold on to because you expect them to get better. But if you can add a Geno Smith or a Jimmy G, then you are really positioning yourself to be successful during your bye week. You know, from your starting quarterback to your backup quarterback, there may be a huge drop-off. But with Jimmy G or Geno Smith, they should be able to get you a decent amount of fantasy points so you're truly not hurting at the quarterback position during your bye week. Now let's talk about those running backs. Top waiver wire ad is Kenneth Walker, rookie running back with Seattle. One of the main reasons, the biggest reason, is Rashad Penny is done for the season, and it's Kenneth Gainwell time. We talked about this potentially occurring during the offseason and during preseason with Penny being a solid running back, but he's simply unable to sustain any type of health, which would make you confident in starting him pretty much without having his backup on your bench. So if you can add Kenneth Walker, he should be elevated as the starter. He's going to play a whole lot more minutes than what he has been doing so far. He broke one off for 69 yards for a touchdown. So that was very good. If you have Kenneth Walker, this is exciting times for you. I'm very excited. I have him in 2 dynasty leagues, and I am looking forward to seeing him produce more. Another great ad is Brian Robinson with the Commanders. We talked about adding him a little bit early because we didn't want to wait until he returned and say he had a good game, or Ron Rivera come out and say that, hey, he's going to be the guy. Gibson is going to go back to the role that we envisioned for him to start the season. Well, essentially, that has happened. So if you still can pick him up, he's available. So pick him up. He didn't have a great week 5, but I don't think we were expecting him to have a great week 5. We were just expecting him to get back on the field. And it's a great thing that he is able to get back on the field and play the game that he loves. And we're looking forward to seeing his carries increase and his snap percentage increase. Ron Rivera is coming out saying that Gibson may go on back to kick returns, punt returns. And then also with Gibson, he hasn't done anything those first 4 weeks to warrant Brian Robinson losing the starting job, which he took from Gibson during training camp and preseason pretty much. So if you can add Brian Robinson, do so. We talked about if you had Antonio Gibson, he was a player that you needed to sell high, and a great team to target would be whoever has Brian Robinson, because at any given moment, you just never know what's going to happen. I honestly feel like the best approach should be to have both guys in the mix. But when you have J.D. McKissick as the third down back, then Gibson is the odd man out. So if you don't have Brian Robinson and he's available, try to pick him up. If you have Antonio Gibson and you don't have Brian Robinson, find a way to try to acquire him. And that may be via trade or by way of the waiver wire. So we're hoping he's on waivers so you can pick him up. Another great play, another great ad is going to be Mike Boone with the Broncos. I don't care what Melvin Gordon is doing as a starter. Melvin Gordon has a fumbling issue this year. He's one fumble away from losing his job to Mike Boone, right? Probably not, but his carries may decrease a little bit if he continues to fumble the ball. It's like, I don't know what the hell's going on with Melvin Gordon with all these fumbles, but nonetheless, Mike Boone looked good. We know that Javonte Williams is done for the season, so we know that Gordon's going to be in the mix, and Mike Boone played well enough to be in the mix. So if you can't get Gordon, then get Mike Boone, because I believe they're going to utilize both of these guys like they were utilizing Williams and Gordon. So it's going to be the Gordon and Boone show. Hopefully they don't activate Latavius Murray. He wasn't activated for Thursday Night Football, didn't play. But if he ends up being activated week 6, then you may see some things change, especially, again, if Gordon continues to fumble. But again, with Boone had a good week, 7 carries, 38 yards, 3 receptions for 47 yards, which isn't bad. It's solid for a running back who's not even playing much, right? He wasn't playing much prior to that. Now with Gordon, he had 15 carries for 54 yards, but Boone averaged over 5 yards per carry versus Gordon's a little over 3 per carry. So Boone was the more efficient running back. But nonetheless, again, that Latavius Murray factor is in the mix. So keep that in mind and just kind of do some research and make sure that you know that, hey, okay, they're not really going to use Latavius. It's going to be Boone involved to back up Gordon. Another great ad is Eno Benjamin with the Cardinals. And this is simply because James Conner got hurt. He sustained a rib injury week 5, wasn't able to return. And Darrell Williams suffered a knee injury. So both of these guys are hurt. Eno Benjamin was the only healthy running back on the roster to pretty much have to finish the game. There were no other options. he was okay. He wasn't that great. He was all right. Wasn't a spectacular game. So if I were you, I would consider maybe in deep leagues, seeing if they are going to activate rookie running back Keontae Ingram, if he's able to be activated and finally get his first professional start, he may simply be in the mix, especially if Benjamin isn't playing well. Then this young man may get an opportunity. But this is only if James Conner and Williams miss time. Again, I just thought that the Cardinals just played it all wrong. Like, James Conner is highly injury prone. He's always hurt at some point during the season. So why are you? I would carry more running backs. And then it sucked that then Williams got hurt. So now you only have one healthy running back on the active roster to finish the game. And again, I wasn't overly impressed with what Benjamin did. So we'll see what's going to happen. But the priority should be Inu Benjamin, just to ensure that if Williams and Connor are unable to go, you have the top running back for the Cardinals. Another good ad is going to be Tyler Algier with the Falcons. This is going to be a pain in the neck, though, but it's still a very good ad. They're going to a certain degree, use a committee. You'll see Tyler Algier, you'll see Williams, you'll see Huntley. The more effective back was Williams with the touchdown. Okay. Tyler Algier obviously he got the start and he rushed 13 times for 45 yards. Wasn't great, but he had two really good positive plays. And those plays were obviously taken away due to penalties. So he looked good. It's just they're going to have other running backs in the mix as well. So be cautious. The top priority for you is obviously Kenneth Gainwell at the running back position. And then if you cannot get him, then there are some other options. Also, if Raheem Mostert is available still, then add him. We talked about him the last 3 weeks, adding him because he appeared to be picking up steam as the lead back, and he led the hell out of the Dolphins week 5 because I don't know about you guys, but there wasn't a sight. I didn't see Chase Edmonds at all. Chase Edmonds had one stinking carry for 1 yard, okay? It's like, what the hell happened? I mean, he barely even played. I mean, think about it. Raheem had 18 carries for 113 yards versus Edmonds 1 carry for 1 yard. So you know what you need to do. Or if you haven't done it already, do it. Add Raheem if he's available, okay? It's a must. We don't want to leave starting running backs on waivers for anyone else. So pick him up if he is still available. It's crazy what's going on with Edmonds. I thought at least Raheem would be the early back, and then Edmonds would be that third down receiving back, but that's not even happening. Gaskins got more opportunities than Edmonds, so I'm just really shocked about that. And that's something that you have to monitor. A lot of people drafted Edmonds with the hopes of he was going to have a very good season this year. That isn't happening. It doesn't appear it's going to happen. So the guy to focus on is Raheem, if you can still pick him up. Now let's talk about some wide receivers you should add. George Pickens should be one of your top adds this week. We talked about George Pickens last week, and we're going to talk about him this week, okay? Add him. He has a great rapport with Pickett. They have a great connection. They obviously played a lot during preseason, so he should be one of your ads. Okay, he's been getting involved. He's playing a lot. He's good in the run block, and he is not playing. He's catching any and everything. He's one of those wide receivers. You throw it up, he's just going to go and get it, and he looks great out there on the field. Even though the Steelers got whipped by the Bills, Kenny Pickett looked like, okay, the offense will move better with Pickett versus Mitch. Now, that offensive line has to get it together so they can get the run game going with Harris a little bit more, and that will help the young rookie Pickett. But make it a priority to add George Pickens. Another great add at the wide receiver position is Alec Pierce with the Colts. Okay, yes, please add him. He's been playing very well and more involved over the last 3 games. So add him. Week 5 was a good week. 8 receptions, 81 yards. Again, we don't leave that kind of production on waivers, especially when there are a lot of players who are hurt or not playing well. So make sure you make it your business to add him. It's a must add. Again, Josh Reynolds is still another solid add. Again, even if these guys are not going to play for you this week, you want players on your team who can fill in for you during the bye weeks. The bye weeks are starting, so you have to keep that in mind and not just say, well, oh, I don't need anyone to start because I have my guys. But you got to plan ahead for those bye weeks. And Josh Reynolds may be able to help you on a bye week. So consider adding him as well. And rookie wide receiver Jahan Dotson is still a good add, although he is injured. Why wait till he returns or he's about to return and someone else picks him up and now you don't have him as an option? He was very much involved with the Commanders' offense, so why not add him? Because he's going to be involved and he's going to produce for you, if nothing else, during a bye week. And if you have an IR spot, you can utilize that IR spot on a player like Dotson. Now let's talk about some tight ends you should add. Add Evan Ingram. This has been the hardest thing with these tight ends this year. A lot of tight ends who you thought were going to produce, they haven't really produced. Evan Ingram, it's reasonable production. Again, we are going to bye week, so you don't have the top tight ends, that you're going to need to look for players who may be able to help you get points. Some points is better than no points. Again, you can't look at it like, well, I have Kels, so I'm expecting my backup tight end to produce like Kels. In a perfect world, yes, but that's just unrealistic. And you want to try to add players who will be able to help you during your bye weeks. And I believe Ingram is able to help you. Week 6 was a good week. 6 receptions, 69 yards. It's not going to be like that every week. But again, if he has a good matchup during the bye week of your starting tight end, then it may work out for you. But we will continue to talk about tight ends that you can consider to add, which will help you during your bye weeks. So far in the season, 26 targets, 19 receptions, only 168 yards. But again, if you can get about 7-8 points out of him, 6 to 8 points, we'll say, then that is fine for you on a bye week, because again, your backup's not going to produce Kels numbers unless you have someone on that level. And a lot of times, you may not have that type of player on that level at the tight end position as your backup. Another sneaky, crazy, wow ad at the tight end position is Cade Otton with the Buccaneers. And now this is a dangerous ad, but it may work. Now, we know that so far this season, the tight ends for the Buccaneers simply haven't played well. Well, I'm going to say Kyle Rudolph sort of got the start. He got the first crack at it. And what did he do? He went out there and looked bad. Dropped a pass, and they just moved on from him. And Cade Otton had a very good day, played over 90% of the snaps, 7 targets, 6 receptions for 43 yards. That's serviceable. That's reasonable production. Not saying he's going to do this every week, but let's be clear. They were hyping him up during training camp, and he looked like he may have been potentially the lead tight end, right? The starting tight end for Tampa, because Gronk is not in the building. So as far as we're concerned, the starting job is up for grabs, because no one has played extremely well to where they just, it's your job. I need to see the production. Bray is out with a concussion, didn't play week 5. You know how concussions are, so you can't assume that he's going to be available for you in week 6. And plus, hasn't played well all this season. This has probably been one of the best games, if not the best game, out of the tight ends for the Buccaneers, and it came from the rookie who they were high on. Obviously, earlier some injuries, but this is one of those dangerous ads that if it works, it works. But if it don't, it's going to hurt. But I would say when it's Tom Brady being the quarterback and he looks for the tight end position, and if this young man continues to play well, then Tom Brady's going to get him the ball. So don't wait until he goes off and has that big old game, and then you're like, oh, okay. He played very well, and again, I don't see them decreasing his time on the field because the other two tight ends didn't play well. And again, Kyle Rudolph, go retire because he's dropping passes. He did not look good at all. And once that young man Otten got in there, he played very well, and he had a very, very good game. And that is what we are looking for a tight end who's going to fill in for you during the bye week. Another solid add is Will Dissly. Although he didn't have a really good week 5, he is still heavily involved with the Seattle Seahawks offense, and he, to me, sometimes has better chemistry with Geno than Fant, and he's more involved sometimes offensively than Fant. And you're on a bye week, and you're looking for someone to help produce. He's gonna give you the points you need to keep you competitive and potentially win. That week your starting tight end is on a bye week. Let's just not wait until the bye week to address certain positions that you are going to need to replace your bench players during a bye week, because at that time it may be a bit too late. And then you got to also understand with the tight end position, it's much better in regards to who can produce, but a lot of these guys simply aren't producing. So you need to find players who will produce for you, right? And Will Dissly may be that guy on a bye week, right? When your starting tight end is out. So consider adding Will Dissly, if nothing else, to help you during a bye week. All right, y'all, leave some comments and let me know your thoughts on our recommendations for the top waiver wire ads going into week 6 of the fantasy football season. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of great content which will help you prepare and compete at the highest level every week in fantasy football versus your competition. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.